Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, November 20th, 2011. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. Today I'm going to be discussing the Stop IP Act, the Protect IP Act, and the Stop Online Piracy Act, otherwise known as SOPA. The reason I'm discussing this is because there's not a lot of attention being drawn to it right now. Obviously, the mainstream media is pretty much ignoring it, as they're told to. And not many in the mainstream media are covering it. It is being covered, but not enough, and it needs to get more attention. So I'm going to try to help shed some light on it. These 2 acts will destroy the Internet as we know it, ladies and gentlemen. Literally. It will destroy the Internet. And you'll understand what I mean by that in a few minutes. I'm going to be joined today by my good friend, a fellow radio show host, researcher, activist, and he's now starting to learn how to do film editing and stuff, so one day we'll be able to call him a filmmaker, Mr. Bob Tuskin. Bob,
they already called me a troublemaker.
Yeah, you're on a few lists, aren't you? More than a few. You're probably on about 10 or 15. And also joining us at some point this afternoon is going to be Alex Thomas from the Intel Hub. And he's going to talk a little bit about SOPA and the Protect IP Act. Now, some of us have been talking about this and writing about it for months. I know Brian Hill over at USWGO, he writes for me over at Federal Jack, and he's written a couple articles about this and trying to draw attention to it because it's scary what they want to do. I mean, they literally want to make like sharing a clip from just to show you how draconian it would be. If I say Bob and I were sports fans, we weren't awake. We weren't researchers, We're just two idiots, right? We like sports. And I go, Bob, you got to see this clip. And I send it to him on his Facebook page. And it's like a 15-second clip from a football game the night before where some guy, gets taken out at the knees. And he falls down, lands on his face. And the other player, drops a knee into his face. And you see the guy's foot, head and face get mashed into the ground. And it's going viral, right? Everybody that shares that video, including me sending it to Bob, has now committed a felony. Do you see how insane that is? Do you understand the level that will destroy the internet and society? For people that aren't aware, okay, for some of the older folk that say, well, Popeye, we dealt without the internet before. Not anymore. All commerce is done through the internet. It's like only 3% of our currency is cash. Everything else is digital. How do you think that digital information, which translates into currency once it gets to the bank or whatever, how do you think that gets from one spot to another? Through the internet. Commerce is done through the internet like crazy. It would literally destroy the net as we know it.
How fitting.
Right?
They want to take down my connection randomly. And as you know, Popeye, I do a show Monday through Friday with very little of interruptions. So, geez.
Yeah, for the listeners that don't know, Bob keeps getting knocked off. Well, actually, it's not just you. It's like all day Skype has been really malfunctioning bad all day long for everybody that's been using it. So it kind of makes you wonder if they're doing something obviously maybe it's a Skype-wide problem. What are they doing? And I'm so tired of hearing people say, well, the date for the contract hasn't even, passed yet. So technically they haven't taken over. Right, technically. Right. And the government also does things before things are legal and then seeks the permission to make it legal. Doesn't mean that they don't do it beforehand. You know what I mean?
It's that old thing, do now and apologize later.
Exactly. And they will do now and then not even apologize later.
Nah.
Bob, from your viewpoint, you're an activist. Not even from the viewpoint of a radio show host, but as an activist, how chilling is this to you for your free speech to be able to get it out there?
The fact that the draconian crackdown on internet freedom is based on such arbitrary terms is quite troubling, Popeye. Information should be open source in a perfect world. Yet we now live in a police state of corporate fascism. We had the CEO of Google say that, SOPA was draconian. But I doubt he really will be the one to suffer the consequences. This will simply make it easier for them to censor and withhold funds as they already do. Is this internet 2? Not quite. But are we getting closer? Yes. Time to figure out Plan B, Popeye. The kill switch is in place, and are you and your family in place, prepared, ready for all of these sorts of crackdowns on our freedom? That's the question that I asked the listeners. What are you going to do when the grid goes down? Do you have your Plan B? They clearly are implementing their gradual, incremental step to total freedom abolishment. What are you doing to go the other way and continue to gain your freedom? Are you free? Do you really have, sovereignty from this bureaucratic, never-ending police state? And that's what I think we need to come away from this. And, of course, we need to fight like hell while we still have the internet, because it is such a valuable tool. There's no doubt about it. It has helped awareness grow exponentially, but it also has created enough fluff to dilute that awakening process. And the powers that shouldn't be know this, and they want to keep you distracted with all the fluff. That's why they've allowed it to continue and not have not actually gone all the way with their Internet 2 plans and so on. So, it's fascinating, Popeye. Long story short, it's sick. And what's sick about this is just, like I said, how arbitrary the reasoning behind why they want to go after certain sites or what they can censor and what they can go after. Yes, they might claim that it has to do with streaming and blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, there's no due process. It's almost like a pseudo-kangaroo court with absolutely no oversight. Scary world, Popeye.
I agree. No judge, no jury, no due process. Just, you are the weakest link, goodbye. That's exactly how they handle it. So, you know what? Look, the internet, freedom lasted 20 years. Time to make a new internet. Let's call it the Freedom Net. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
I guess it goes to show the truth is stranger than fiction, but they don't even show the truth when soldiers are missing. I'm only trying to show.
The Internet is one of the United States' most robust and growing industries. It enables free and open communication among billions, and it's been the backbone for protests around the world. But a new bill proposes we give the power to censor the Internet to the entertainment industry. It's called Protect IP, and here's how it works. Private corporations want the ability to shut down unauthorized sites where people download movies, TV shows, and music. Since most of these sites are outside U.S. jurisdiction, Protect IP uses a couple different tactics within American borders. Firstly, it gives the government the power to make U.S. internet providers block access to infringing domain names. They can also sue U.S.-based search engines, directories, or even blogs and forums to have links to these sites removed. Secondly, Protect IP gives corporations and the government the ability to cut off funds to infringing websites by having U.S.-based advertisers and payment services cancel those accounts. In a nutshell, that's what Protect IP will try to do. But in all likelihood, it'll do something else altogether. For starters, it won't stop downloaders. You'll still be able to access a blocked site just by entering its IP address instead of its name. What Protect IP will do is cripple new startups because it also lets companies sue any site they feel isn't doing their filtering well enough. These lawsuits could easily bankrupt new search engines and social media sites. And Protect IP's wording is ambiguous enough that important social media sites could become targets. Lots of trailblazing websites. Piracy hate judge. Tumblr, SoundCloud, and early YouTube, wherever people express themselves, make art, broadcast news, or organize protests, there's plenty of TV footage, movie clips, and copyrighted music mixed in. And even if you trust the U.S. government not to abuse their new power to censor the net, what about the countries that follow in our path and pass similar laws? People around the world will have very different internets, and unscrupulous governments will have powerful tools to hinder free expression. But perhaps most dangerously, Protect IP will meddle with the inner workings of the net. Experts believe by fiddling with the web's registry of domain names, the result will be less security and less stability. In short, Protect IP won't stop piracy, but it will introduce vast potential for censorship and abuse while making the web less safe and less reliable. This is the internet we're talking about. It's a vital and vibrant medium, and our government is tampering with its basic structure so people will maybe buy more Hollywood movies. But Hollywood movies don't get grassroots candidates elected. They don't overthrow corrupt regimes, and the entire entertainment industry doesn't even contribute that much to our economy. The internet does all these and more. Corporations already have tools to fight piracy. They have the power to take down specific content, to sue peer-to-peer software companies out of existence, and to sue journalists just for talking about how to copy a DVD. They have a history of stretching and abusing their powers. They tried to take a baby video off YouTube just for the music playing in the background. They've used legal penalties written for large-scale commercial piracy to go after families and children. They even sued to ban the VCR and the first MP3 players. So the question is, how far will they take all this? The answer at this point is obvious. As far as we'll let them. Since we made this video, Protect IP has gotten much worse and is set up for quick passage. Now, the government and corporations could block any site, foreign or domestic, just for one infringing link. Sites like YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook would have to censor their users or get shut down, since they become liable for everything users post. and ordinary users could go to jail for 5 years for posting any copyrighted work, even just singing a pop song.
That's how evil this thing is. If you video yourself, or say your girlfriend's a big pop music, lover, and she records herself singing because maybe she's a singer. Have you guys ever seen all these people that have been discovered because they put their videos up on YouTube and they're doing cover songs of somebody's music?
Justin Bieber.
Case in point, that kid, okay? That would make how he became famous illegal and a felony. Does that make any sense to you people to you brain-dead sheep out there that don't care about the New World Order? To the people that don't believe in it? To the people
I personally think Justin Bieber should be a felony, but that's a different story.
Well, I agree
right.
too. Well, his crap is part of that whole MK Ultra, mass mind conditioning thing. But I agree. How supposedly, I'll say, how he came about.
Let's put him aside for a second, and let's go to the alternative media. We rely on YouTube. We rely on that sort of communications. I do YouTube videos. Popeye takes these shows and he puts them on a YouTube. And it's important. It's a great way for us to get out the word. And if we didn't have it, you wouldn't know who Popeye from FederalJack.com was, perhaps. Or even worse, you wouldn't know who Bob Tuskin was. I mean, can you live without Bob Tuskin? That's what you have to ask yourself when you come across the SOPA Act.
Well, exactly. That's exact. I couldn't have put it any better myself, Bob. You guys would never know who FederalJack.com is, what the website's about. You would never know BobTuskin.com, the Intel Hub. You would not have access to the information that we give you. How amazing is it that when people, I say on the radio all the time, hey, email me and I'll send you ebooks, right? Okay, last night I got a random email from a listener who must have heard one of the older shows. And they said, hey, I appreciate what you and Bob Tuskin do, and Mark Passio. You three guys are awesome. Thank you for everything you do. Can you please send me those ebooks that you talked about? And how awesome is it that I can email this guy? I sent them 4 books in one email. Do you know how much knowledge was contained in there? One of the books, it was Kathy O'Brien's book. I should have sent him Bryce Taylor's book. Now that I think about it, I didn't even think about it. I sent him None Dare Call, Conspiracy, Charlotte Iserby, Dumbing Down of America, and Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. Now, how cool is it that I can share that much knowledge with somebody like that? The blink of an eye. Just snap of the fingers and bam, it goes. They get it. They want to shut that kind of stuff down. They want to make that illegal. They want to make what Bob Tuskin and Jimmy X, JJ Inc., Doug Owen, me, Popeye. They want to make what all of us do illegal.
Especially
they want to cut you off from us. Does that piss you off, Bob? Not as a radio host, but as a citizen, because I know you listen to talk radio, and you and I have talked about this. You've listened to talk radio for a long time. Does it piss you off that the government wants to tell you what you can listen to on talk radio?
Well, we need the fairness doctrine. You know about the fairness doctrine?
Someone told me they're trying to bring that back, but I heard that was finally shelved a couple months back.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the fairness doctrine, though. Because, it's funny, because I see it both ways. We know that Clear Channel, regardless of any sort of government bureaucracy, dictates what we hear on the radio in most stations around the country. But as far as the alternative radio is concerned, and these micro-broadcasters and internet stations, like Orion, that's what I'm afraid of that's coming at. That's, to me, the only last hope in a media that's so controlled by corporate fascism and so contrived to fulfill the agenda.
Exactly. You can tell that our legislators are bought and paid for. And of course, it's Hollywood that wants to control this. Because they don't make enough money off their BS. Get with the times, losers. trying to take more and more money out of your pockets, and they want more and more control. That's really what it's about. It's a control. We're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Bob Tuscan and I are trying to let you know what is going to happen to the internet if we don't stop this. And it's not just us. I mean, there are experts from all over going to Congress telling them what's going to happen. They are going to take down the internet. They are going to use it and misuse it. I mean, look at Joe Lieberman. He wants Chinese-style internet control. You heard him say that, right, Bob?
Oh, yeah. It's Joe Lieberman. And they censored the internet just fine in Israel. We should implement some of the Israeli-like checkpoints in internet censorship.
Yeah, and then next we'll have just checkpoints on the streets. I mean, why not? Because, hey, something bad could happen.
Terrorism.
It blows my mind that people are so just willing to accept it because they think that it'll keep them safe.
What comes after terrorism?
Anybody that's ever lived in reality, a lot of people live in the suburbs where there's no, they don't have crime and they don't experience that kind of stuff often. So when it happens, they're like, oh my God, what do I do? Oh. You live in the city, it's much different. You learn real fast that that's like an everyday occurrence. So you understand it, and then you deal with it, and you learn how to react to the situation, not or how to prevent the situation, or at least try to anyway. As opposed to people living in these perfect suburb worlds. I mean, it still blows my mind when I see people or I hear people complain about guns down here in Florida. Oh my God, this, can you imagine if everybody had guns and just walked around with guns in their pockets? I have news for you. Most people do. Most people in this country, most states in this country have concealed weapons permits. I think there's only like 2 or 3 states now that don't have them. Something like that. And it might be hard to get it, really, damn near impossible to get it in certain states. So, I really wouldn't consider those awesome gun-friendly states. But the point is, many states have them. And yet, you can still go to somebody in one of these states that has them, and people act like they've never heard of someone carrying a gun. Otherwise, for freedom, it would be a criminal act in their minds, and they're just blown away.
Or is it okay to be open carrying?
Certain states are, New Hampshire and stuff like that. But these are the same people, Bob, that will, willingly say, yeah, we should censor the internet because I don't want my kids being able to see pornography. If somebody else wants to see it, that's fine. But why should my kids be subject to that? Well, how about you be a parent, you lazy piece of trash, okay? And that's what you are. If you blame the internet and you need legislation from Congress because your kid sees porn or other stuff on the internet, then you're a crappy parent.
Well, here's how I look at it. The internet is like the planet Earth. In all sorts of different neighborhoods, there are all sorts of different things. You have the barbecue restaurant next to the mechanic, and then down the road you have, you might have a baseball field. And then a couple blocks down, you might have a strip club. You may have a strip club, and you may have a track where horses race or something like that, where you can gamble. That, in essence, is what the internet is. And if you can't take your kids away from that neighborhood with that, strip club and whatnot, if you're taking your kids anywhere so that they can go into the strip club, that's on you. I'm sorry. Stop being a schmendrick. Take responsibility. You don't need a nanny state to be the nanny of your children.
I agree. And that's what happens. People, we don't need this big government. Do you know why we need this? In your eyes, we need this big government? For the people that think we do and will tell me that, send me emails, we do, Popeye. You don't know what you're talking about. It's a moron. And I guess the guy's still active duty. Well, probably not. He's probably just a troll. But he he acted like he was active duty, and you're a traitor. You used the military for your awesome benefits, and then now you're talking bad about it. And I'm like, well, I don't really talk bad about the military and the people in it. I talk bad about the things that the situations they're put in, and about the people that put them there. And if someone in the military is bad, then yes, I do break it out. But no, I doubt I'm the traitor. You, moron, are the traitor. Because if you really are active duty military or police officer, a firefighter or a veteran, you took an oath to the Constitution to defend it and to defend the citizens of this country, not to defend a certain politician, and not to, as he put, we're trained to kill and that's all we're good for. Well, you're a moron. If you're willing to, as Mark Passio would say, give up your identity like that to be part of this Borg killing machine, then you've already completely lost your humanity, my friend.
That's why they issue you a dog tag.
Exactly.
You're a dog.
Because they have no use for you.
Useless.
They have no use for you.
Pawn.
Kissinger said it.
Yeah.
And that turd is a veteran, too.
Kissinger?
Oh, yeah. He was in the Army.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So he's one to be running his mouth.
Well, did he rise through the ranks fairly quickly in the Army, do you know?
If I remember correctly, he was an officer. So they're not really the same as... they're not the same as the enlisted. But he was in for a brief period of time. I think that was kind of a cover. I mean, anybody who knows Kissinger knows that he did, during World War II, help the Nazis hunt Jews down.
Yeah.
Like
him and Sandusky used to date, actually.
Dude, what do you want to bet he taught Sandusky everything he knows? Because he's old enough to have touched him. You know, he's a war criminal in so many countries that he can't travel over to Europe because of things he did, like the bombings in Laos and all the other things. You know, Cambodia, these villages that they bombed innocent villagers and just
Popeye, I don't know if you heard, but as of Tuesday of last week, I can no longer travel to 13 countries in Europe.
Why?
I did a show on the Holocaust.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I didn't have Steven Spielberg on. And, you know,
you go to Germany, Bob, you'll be thrown in jail.
Exactly right. And that's the sort of tactic they're using to bring it back to SOPA. To think we can put people in jail based on somebody's arbitrary discretion is quite scary. It's no different than them arresting people for taking a look at history. And if it's not his story, they lock you up, throw away the key. Goodbye, Jew boy.
Well, think about this, Bob. If you say, it's not even just about history. If you say to your friend, like I said earlier, hey, Bob, check out this football clip. Like, you're not even trying to do something against the system. And they're still going to try you under racketeering charges. That's the same stuff they go after for the mafia after with the RICO Act. Are you kidding me? I mean, just the level of bizarro world that we're in. It comes out that Congress is engaging in insider trading. Not that anybody didn't already know this, but I mean, now it's out in people's faces that Congress is engaged in insider trading, and you come to find out that that's completely legal for them to do it, but Martha Stewart does it, and they put her old ass in jail. Does that make any sense to you? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. Does anybody see the broader picture here? They're trying to clamp down on everything, and they realize the internet is the last bastion of free speech there is out there, and you have, this network, RBN, Oracle, you have all these other, GCN, you have all these networks out there that pump out via the internet. And yes, some of them are on FM and stuff, but it's based from the internet. They're afraid of that. Look at the FBI awarding that contract to that company to record all of internet broadcast radio. They're doing it right now. They're probably recording this radio show. Hey, guys. Traitorous turds. How does it feel?
I'm Bob Tuskin. My website's bobtuskin.com, scumbags.
Yep, federaljack.com. Turd box.
I have a Jufro.
How does it feel to be sucking Satan's cock, you losers? Ugh. We're going to break, gentlemen. Stop blowing Satan, whoever's recording this. Evil
We need to
government's-
protect our children from that type of Satan porn, Popeye.
Yeah. Same person that they give homage to. Ugh. Going to break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have the right to choose, and there's no way we're going to lose. You have to get informed first. Otherwise, you know you're angry, but you really don't know what you're about, and then you end up looking like some of these people that the media chooses to interview at Occupy Wall Street.
Call them up, Popeye.
Huh?
404-827-1700. Option 1. Let's call them
that's
up.
right. That would be CNN.
Let's call up those lamestream media scumbags and see what they're going to do about this SOPA nonsense.
They
What
won't
do you
do
say?
anything.
You down
They
to
won't-
give them a piece of our mind? They'll try to put us on hold, but we've called them nonetheless. I got another number for them that goes directly to their interview line. I called them up the other night on air, live on air, and they told me, "Oh, you got to send the email to the producer." I'm like, "No, I'm ready to do the interview right now. Let's go. Let's get it."
Somehow I don't think CBS would put you on. Why do I not believe that they would put you on, Bob?
If there really is a Jewish conspiracy, they would have me on, Popeye.
Well, you would think. I mean, you are a Jew. You know what? You should just. I'm sure there's like a secret keyword or something. If you call up and just say like "Oy vey" or something, they'll. He's one of us. They talk into their watches.
Is that how it
my
works?
God. Yeah, like
some
they.
sort of-
Do you see They Live, right? Where I've got one that can see.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like that. You call them up and when they talk, you just like, look, oy vey. Throw out some other words.
All right, get out your crayon, write this number down. It's not the number to call us on the show, but it's the number to call CNN and give them help. Yeah, report any news, whether it's geoengineering, doesn't matter. It's 404-827-1700, option 1. If you don't do it, we'll do it for you.
Well, we're going to do it regardless, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Let me add this over
So,
here.
get off your tuchus and get on the phone. I guess you don't have to get off your tuchus to make a phone call. Is this what they call armchair activism?
Armchair activism, buddy.
At its finest. Now, we called up about the Occupy Wall Street before there was any news about it whatsoever in the lamestream media.
Oh,
also
way
called
before.
up-
We called up, chastised them for not doing it. I
Way
called
before.
up about David Gergen.
We also called up at the Bilderberg meeting.
At Bohemian Grove.
See what they were doing for that.
This is kind of like a normal thing that Bob and I do.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to call CNN like it's going out of style. Hold on, let me...
I love them.
hang
I
on,
love
Bob.
Turner. You know, Turner is one of my favorite eugenicists. He really is. He doesn't want 90% of us gone. It's more like 95.
Hang on, here we go.
Thank you for calling Turner Broadcasting System Incorporated, the world's leading provider of quality
Can't find your
cable.
dial pad?
If you are calling with a news tip or breaking news for CNN,
Yeah. We got news. Hold on, I'll do it
to
for you.
offer a
Bob.
comment, ask a...
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do again.
You have reached this... All calls are monitored and recorded
Gracias.
for quality
Thanks.
assurance.
We're monitoring it as
Thank you
well.
for calling, and please hold. Calls are answered in the order in which they are received.
I clear my throat. Stand by.
CNN, what's your breaking news tip?
Good afternoon. I'd like to know if you guys know about the Protect IP Act or its counterpart, SOPA, the Stop Online Piracy Act, and that like 80% of the internet-based commerce communities, people involved in Silicon Valley, just a broad spectrum of people all over the country, radio stations, filmmakers, video sites like YouTube, even Google, is trying to stop this because it's literally going to shut the internet down and destroy it as we know it.
Well, and we actually have, sorry to interrupt, Popeye, but we actually have some breaking news, ma'am, in regards to SOPA that we just discovered on federaljack.com. Have you heard about this before I give you the additional breaking news, ma'am?
No, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, well, then I guess we should start with what SOPA is and what it plans to do. Go ahead, Pop. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's right, Bob.
Okay. Can I
Go ahead.
May I transfer you where you can leave your information with us? This line is open for like a plane crash or earthquake.
Well, this is actually worse than a plane crash or an earthquake because it would literally shut everything you do down. Like, I'm sure you use Facebook, correct? If you said, hey, one of your friends, hey, did you check out this new music video, and you post it on Facebook and you send it to them, under this law, that's considered a felony. So, and this is what's going on, and the mainstream media is not covering it all. So this really needs to be put out there. And CNN, CNN holds itself to a higher standard than the rest of the media, than MSNBC and then Fox. So I guess the news consumers look to you guys to cover things like this. This is really important. I mean, it would take your website down.
Yeah. So you're saying that someone is going to hack into some websites? Is that what you're saying?
No. This is Congress passing a law that would make it a felony for you to share a YouTube video on your Facebook page, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's got nothing to do with hackers. That's a red herring. That's not even an issue.
Mm-hmm.
This is the government being out of control. They're trying to make a law that would make it illegal for you to send, put up a YouTube video of like whatever music you like, whatever, maybe a video clip you saw something funny, and you put it up. They could make that, under this law, it would make that illegal. You would have committed a felony. You would go to jail. So we need CNN to cover this because, I mean, doesn't that frighten you?
And we need to cover it as soon as possible, ma'am. This is an emergency news story here. We're doing everything that we can so that it's in the best interest of a free press to get this story out. So, no, it's not a plane crash or an earthquake, but it might as well be because the Internet is one of the rudimentary parts of everyone's life.
Okay, well, we'll check it out. We'll take a look into it.
Okay, how can we have how can we figure out how to follow up with you guys to make sure you do cover it if you do?
We'll look into it, sir. There's not a number where you can call back and we'll tell you whether or not we're going to cover the story. I mean, I can send the information over to the assignment editors in the newsroom. And my job is just to relay the information.
Okay, make sure they know this is coming from Popeye and Bob Tuscan of federaljack.com and bobtuscan.com.
Yeah, we're investigative journalists and radio show hosts. And one other thing, just in case you need it again, the name of the two bills are the Protect IP Act and the SOPA Act, SOPA, Stop Online Piracy Act, which they both have, cute little nicknames, but that's not what they do. So I urge you, even as an individual, not working for CNN, but ma'am, as an individual, I urge you to look into this. And when you see what they plan on doing, please just alert your family and your friends, because it'll make even what, everybody does on a normal day basis, tweeting something or putting something on Facebook, it'll make that a felony. So please, just, even for yourself as an individual, check it out. And thank you for, taking the time to talk to us today.
All right. We appreciate you calling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see how far that goes.
I love being an asshole. Was I an asshole? Try not to.
I don't really believe you were, Bob. I believe we handled that pretty well.
That's the thing. You got to make sure that they don't just, blow it off. She was about to just put us on the voicemail.
Exactly. I didn't want to go to voicemail. I wanted it, when she was like, well, this line is for earthquakes and stuff and real important news, I was like, she's not understanding what I'm trying to get across to her. This woman don't get it.
Exactly.
So, That's why I tried to put it in a personal context for her and tell her, when you share links on Facebook, because she noticed she didn't say, I don't go on Facebook. She didn't have any retort. So I kind of made it personal for her.
She's actually one of my Facebook friends. Her name's Letitia. She's in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to Letitia.
Oh, Bob. Only Bob Tuscan, ladies and gentlemen. So if you know her, why don't you tell her to go tell her friends? Like, call her on the off air and be like,
it's already posted on her wall. I posted a link to the show. I'm surprised she wasn't listening.
You're horrible, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to do the same thing. Call up CNN. Again, the phone number is 404-827-1700. Option 1. 404-827-1700. Make them cover this. We did this with other things and they were forced to cover it. Stand up.
Because of our calls. Not really.
Well, not just because of us. Everybody can do the same thing. Stand up and do it, ladies and gentlemen. Go call CNN and tell them to cover SOPA, the Protect IP Act, and the government trying to end freedom of speech on the internet. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with hour number 2. Stand by. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. I'm hanging out with my good friend, activist, fellow radio show host, Bob Tuscan. And during the break, I went to the call-in lines, and I took a call, which I rarely do in my show. I do a lot on other people's shows, but especially Bob's and Jimmy X's when I cover for them, but rarely on mine. But I figured I'd take a call today. So today we're going to chill out and talk to Dave in Montana. And he's got some interesting stuff that he was telling me about during the break and he was talking about, so I wanted him to come on air and talk about it. Dave, are you with me, buddy?
Hey, thank you very much. I feel honored, man. You don't take too many calls. Grazie, grazie. Yeah, I was thinking about, all this stuff happening to us, and everybody thinks, the politicians could change it, and if we do stuff, we could change it, but we living under the Emergency War Act. The warmongers are in charge. They're the owners of the industrial military complex. They're armed with the Patriot Act. There ain't really nothing we could do unless we had a battalion of A-10 Warthogs all loaded up and a battalion of M1A tanks, because this Emergency War Act, because 19 guys with box cutters, $4 trillion later, we're still under, 10 years later, we're still under the Emergency War Act. It's a bunch of BS, man. These guys are friggin' murdering, greedy, thieving bastards. That's all it comes down to.
I agree. They're greedy, but I agree it's more about the murderous part. At least from what I've seen, it's more about the.
It is, man. It's all
the murder and the death.
Oil. And in place in central banks, their economy system. They're going to take over the world. They try. And we're supposed to let them do it because we're under the Emergency War Act. We have to challenge that somehow. The people must have a way to challenge the government and saying, hey, we're not in an emergency war deal right now, man. These guys have supposedly blew up them buildings. This is all crazy. 10 years later, $4 trillion, you're dragging us down a hole in debt. Our great-grandchildren are going to have to be paying off debts because the guy with a box cutter, this is foolishness. The people that died on 9/11 are rolling over in their graves to see what's done to America, the USA, in their name. And then I'm supposed to praise the military, because they're out there saving our freedom.
Not anymore.
It makes me sick, man. It makes me sick. It really does.
Not anymore. They've turned any honorable
Corps.
institution we had into a bunch of thugs. I mean, they're destroying our military physically, the men and women of it. They're turning the police into thugs. And again, Mark Passio's talked about this. It's a Satanistic worldview at a core level when you look at things and say, well, I'll violate someone's rights for money, or I'll beat somebody up or kill somebody for the right amount of money because I have to feed myself or my kids or my wife. And that in itself is self-destructive, because that's just going to lead to eventually them. Once there's nobody to be rounded up, then they no longer serve a purpose, and now they are a threat to the elite, and they have to go.
There must be a way we could challenge this Emergency War Act, though. I guess you'd have to have a group of congressmen or senators.
It's perpetual war.
Yeah, forever.
But they need that state of war,
right? Isn't it since FDR we've been under some Emergency War Act the whole time? And
we've been under the Emergency Powers Act since 1933, and since then, because we've been in bankruptcy, because we literally ran out of money. And that's when they started using human beings as collateral for the loans, i.e. Social Security. The Treasury Secretary, under the Emergency Powers Act, he's brought in to manage the bankruptcy. So technically, under the federal bankruptcy, Timothy Geithner is running the show right now. How scary is that, ladies and gentlemen? Remember, it's never the puppet that you see on TV that really runs things. I'm not saying he sits down behind a desk smoking a cigar with some brandy laughing. He's just another puppet as well. But under the Emergency Powers Act, the Treasury Secretary runs the government, not the president.
And
so they put us...
Still laying the oil pipelines down, too, so they're planning on staying on oil for the next 150 years, because they wouldn't be putting all that investment down on the ground.
Oil, well, they'll do it because they want the natural resources, but oil is kind of a red herring, because anybody on the oil industry will tell you they need stability in order to have constant flow of oil. And whenever there's war, there's not stability. And then you'll have people that really will go blow up oil pipelines and stuff. So that's not beneficial to them. The stability afterwards... Well, the stability afterwards is what they need, Dave. That's what they need, is the stability that comes afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Like when KBR comes in and says, well, now we brought democracy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. It's more about, like, Afghanistan, dude. You know how much lithium is in the ground up there?
Mountains of it, ain't it? Whole mountains.
Yep. And Rachel Maddow, when she did a talk about this, a show about it, she was trying to make it sound like, I don't even know what lithium's used for. Why would we want lithium? Why would we care?
I love her. She's just so great.
Yeah.
Lithium is batteries, right?
Yeah. Dude, it's in everything. Cell phones, iPod, your computer, anything that requires battery power.
I think we have come to a time in evolution of humanity that we got to think about the earth is the family car. We are one family. We are one world. And if we got 7 billion people and they got to eat and they got to have jobs and they got to have houses and stuff, we got to get away from the war thing for sure. But I can't see going around instilling central banks thinking this fractional reserve banking system is going to save it. So these evil bastards ain't going to give it up. But there's got to be a time where we don't have to fight over these mountains of lithium, that it's the property of the people of the world, I guess that's a dream, but...
No, I agree. Well, we have to evolve spiritually as a race, and not... When I say race, I don't mean white or black.
The family car, the Earth, man.
Human
the Earth
race
is like the family car. We're headed down this highway, cosmic highway, 66.
Exactly. We have to stop arguing with each other.
We better get along with each other. The trip is long, you know.
Exactly. It's a long, boring ride to the amusement park.
I grew up with a family of 5 sisters and 3 brothers in a station wagon during the 60s, early 60s, no seatbelts. So the family car, the ride could get a little wild, you know.
I agree. It's a good analogy.
Man.
We are all in one big car on this cosmic trip, and we need to start.
Are we there yet?
Yeah, that's what it's like.
We better get along or I'm going to pull this thing over, man.
I don't Hey, Dave, what instrument do you play?
Harmonica.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Somebody in the chat said you play harp.
You want to hear a little?
Yeah, let's hear some, yeah.
We got about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, let me get it up.
Man, how can you listen to harmonica and not have a smile on your face, you know?
I'm gonna have Dave. I'm gonna have you do some bumper music for me. That's awesome. I love harmonica.
Down the rabbit hole.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As you can tell, I'm hanging out with my buddy Bob Tuscan today. We're trying to educate you about what they're going to do to the internet, and what we see them doing with this Protect IP Act and the SOPA, the Stop Online Piracy Act. Because
Now, what's the deal, Popeye? Can they actually take down the internet? I've heard some different opinions on that. I had Dave come on and say, yeah, maybe they can take down the DNS, but if you have a list of everyone's IP, you can still get to the site. What have you taken away from that discussion?
Well, that is the truth. That's what this would do. They want to screw with the DNS, and they would be playing with the DNS registry, which is very bad because, now I'm not a web expert, but just from my general layman's knowledge of it, I know that it would be like punching holes in the foundation of your house. That's literally screwing with like the foundation of the internet, and it could cause a lot of problems. And the reliability of the internet as we know it would be no longer, and it could cause major outages and stuff. I mean, you can just put in someone's IP address, and you know, there are times we had a problem. In fact, if your website goes offline sometimes and you reset your server, this happened to us the other day, and we reset the server, and when it came up, there was a lot of stuff missing from. It looked like it was missing, and it turned out. One of my IT guys found out it was just a DNS issue. It wasn't looking for the database in the right place. But if I went to the IP address of where we have everything stored in our database, it came up like that. Bam. So it's amazing what you can still do with the internet. As for them shutting it off, I mean, like I've put out calls on my show just when I've had hackers on and said, please, you know, we rely on you guys. You're better with this stuff than we are. We need you people to use your talent for the force of good, you know, make an alternative internet. And I keep getting stuff back from people telling me that they're already in the works. So they could possibly shut the internet as we know it down, but there would be some form of other alternative internet up within a period of time. The goal is to have it up beforehand so people know where to go. So you have a plan B. So if the internet goes down, you just go to plan B and bam, you're back up. You know, and maybe not everybody, but at least to certain people so that there's still news can get out and stuff like that. It's the only way we're going to defeat this. We have to plan accordingly. I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Why do you get insurance?
Exactly. You drive around, well, it's mandatory. Well, okay, this should be mandatory in your mind as well. I mean, you shouldn't need a law to tell you that you should we need to make something a backup. I suggest everybody take email contacts, write them down. I suggest you take phone numbers out of your cell phone, write them down. Just in case. Physical addresses, write them down. Keep them in logbooks.
I used to memorize everyone's phone number, Popeye. Do you remember that?
Yep.
I would have at least 10, 15 numbers I knew by heart. Now I still got a few of them, but not nearly as many as back in the day. It's because we've become dependent on these technologies that we now take for granted, which leaves us vulnerable. And that's why we need to get prepared.
I know how to read a map, okay? It's a perfect example. I know how to read a map, yet if I find myself more inclined to use my GPS on my phone, which I know I shouldn't use, but I do anyway, because it's just a lot easier while I'm driving, because I might be stressing out about something else or thinking about something else. And I was a truck driver for a long time when I was younger, and I used to do towing and recovery, like when tractor trailers or cars would flip over and go off a cliff and stuff like that. That was my specialty. And I used to drive all the time, 24/7, and I used maps. We didn't have GPS back in the day. So we used maps and common sense. And I got to tell you now, I'll say to myself, man, it's just easier not to have to write the directions down. I could just type the address in. That's bad. And I find myself, I'm literally checking myself on that now. I'm putting the brakes on it because I don't like that. I know that I'm able to read a map and use common sense to navigate. I did it for years for a living. So there's no reason I can't do it now and that I need to rely on this electronic piece of equipment. So I'm breaking myself free. Moving out of the area I live in, yes, I'm still moving to somewhat of a packed area, but it's moving away from the comfortable area that I'm in and trying something new. You need to take that step. You need to prepare yourself. Where I'm moving is much more it's better suited than where I am now. Where I am now, it's all high-rise buildings and everything. At least where I'm going is a little more spread out. It's still kind of urban-y, but it's not as, and it's a little more spread out. And then after that'll give me some time to get ready to go to the next step, which is, see ya, out in the countryside somewhere. I want, nice chunk of land with my own property where I can grow my own food. First thing I'm going to do when I get a big chunk of property is I'm going to take like a 40-foot by 40-foot section of the ground, and I'm going to dig it out. I'm going to rent a little small backhoe. You could do it in a day. Not expensive. And I'm going to dig out about 6, 7 feet down. Maybe I don't even have to go that. Maybe like 4 feet. But I'm going to do like 40 by maybe like 30. And I'll dig down maybe like 4 feet to be easier. And then, slowly fill it with topsoil and stuff and, the right nutrients. Get nitrogen pellets and stuff like that and disperse it throughout. And mix it up, and I'm going to let it sit for about a month. And then I'm going to start planting, different types of heirloom seeds in there. But I want to put that fresh topsoil and all that stuff in there. But that's just the start. I mean, I could do so much more. If you have your own house, you could do whatever you want with it, but you need a section of property. And once I get my own house, I plan on putting solar panels and stuff on. But where I live now, that's completely like the 180 from where I live now. And it's already a huge step for me to transition where I'm from to where I'm going. I will say one thing, it's going to be a lot farther inland. There's no way I'm going to be as close to the ocean as I have been. Not that I believe the end of the world is coming, but I've seen enough evidence to prove that there are natural disasters, and there have been enough tsunamis in the past couple of years to make me want to leave a coastline. I only live like a block and a half from the ocean. So we get like 60-foot waves. I'm going to be surfing. You know what I'm saying, Bob? You've seen where I live.
Yeah.
You have to be able to make that transition. You know what I'm talking about. You left South Florida altogether and went up northern Florida where it's much different, and you took that step. You made that transition to prepare yourself and better, I mean, I know you're up there educating yourself as well, but you're done with South Florida. Your next step, I think, is going to be the countryside as well, or somewhere close to it, correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to go where there's very little humans. I like animals better, you know, butterflies, the occasional zebra, that kind of thing. Oh, I think I just gave away what continent I'm going to be on. Jeez.
Yeah, you're going to be in Africa.
Actually, in Mexico, they had a white horse, and the guy would paint the stripes on it, and that was a thing in Mexico. The kids would take a picture with it. He's the zebra guy. Also, can get you a good bag.
Are you kidding me? What kind of paint did they use?
They painted it as like a white donkey, and they painted it with black paint.
But like, what kind of paint? Was it like paint that's safe to use on animals, like plant?
Well, no, it's not safe. I mean, it's Mexico. That same guy could get.
So it's probably some lead-based house paint.
Yeah. It's a zebra, though. Take your pictures, kids. Line up.
That's the New World Order right there. That's how they. That's a microcosm of the larger problem, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break. We'll be right back.
On a zebra, on a painted horse, I ride.
Ladies and gentlemen, on November 9th, 2011, I had Winston Smith, my longtime friend who is a hacker. He's a white hat hacker. And he's been on before. He came on, and we discussed how if power plants and stuff like that and infrastructure starts to get hacked by either hackers or quote-unquote outside governments and stuff, it would be very hard for that to happen because these agencies are not connected to the internet for their inner runnings. Maybe their secretary has a computer or something on, and we even, posed the idea that, perhaps the secretary, her computer that has like a Comcast internet connection, somebody could put a virus or a certain sort of program or something on the computer, and then you would still require somebody on the inside to attach a thumb drive or something to that computer and somehow get the virus or program onto the thumb drive and then pass it on. That would be what's called an inside connection, okay? Therefore making it an inside job. Now, I bring this up because after I aired this, now again, I saw him, I had him come on the 9th. So that was Wednesday, November 9th, 2011. And a couple days ago, this airs on CBS because, again, this report, like I said, they're going to start attacking things, right? They air a report about cyber attacks against infrastructure.
At a water utility. The incident happened last week. There were reports that the computer that hacked the utility system has been traced to Russia. The motive for the attack is still not known, but it could be the first time foreign hackers have struck a U.S. industrial facility.
Oh, no. Oh, cyber war. Ah! The internal workings of these systems are not hooked up to the internet. They don't require the internet to run their stuff. They have big systems like that have their own inner working versions of the internet. They don't need, even the military has its own version of the internet. And I'm not talking about the ARPANET. I'm talking about when I was in, it was called the Global, we called it. Or Global, whatever the hell it was called, something global. But it was interagency. Not only could I email everybody in the Guard, but I could email people in the Marines, Navy, anybody, Army, Air Force, anybody I needed to get a hold of. But we also had our own. We had our own global network where it was just Coast Guard, but then we could also communicate with the other branches, like via email, without. It would still be routed through some public servers and stuff if it was an interagency type thing. But inside, we had our own version. See what I'm saying? So these big power plants and stuff, they have their own version to communicate. They don't need the outside internet to do that for them. That wouldn't make any sense to take an internet connection and hook a reactor up to it, or hook up a power grid to it, or hook up an airport to it. This is ridiculous. They want you to think that some hacker is going to, crash airplanes. And I said this on my show. Again, demonizing the internet. So you see all these multiple attacks on the internet. You have Protect IP, SOPA. You have these hack attacks, which Winston agreed that a lot of these, when it's something malicious like trying to go something inside and do something like that, that's not, how most hacktivists, I guess you could call them, work. They would take a site offline, which just, is basically they have programs that mimic 1 million people trying to log in at once. And it's too much. Your server can't handle it, and your server crashes. You reset the server, you come back up. Okay? DDoS attack, they call it. The word attack is put in there because it's an attack. Raw. And yes, it pisses you off. It really can annoy you. But it's like Winston said, it's the equivalent of a virtual sit-in. So it's not horrible. And they come out with the CIA's website got knocked offline. Oh my God, no secrets were available to hackers. Of course they weren't. Why would the CIA put their secrets online? Duh. Then it's not really a secret. Because once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. So that's the other thing these Orwellian douchebags don't realize is they don't sit back and think that they would have to scrub the entire internet. Because once you put something out there, it's out there. Don't you hear them tell you that all the time? Parents telling kids, go take naked pictures of yourself and email them to somebody, because once it's out there, it's out there. Well, Popeye, that just means that it's, send someone's email, which sits where? In a server. And how many times can that get posted on a website or be floating around? That's a digital signal that's floating around somewhere. They can make it a lot harder, and they're going to try. But we need to stand up to this and tell them enough is enough. Does this not tell you people, for the non-believers, for the people that listen to me but maybe don't believe everything I say when it comes to the police state, and they say, Papa, I agree with some stuff, but, do you guys see it now? Do you understand? Do you understand how serious this is? Do you understand the level that this is getting to? And you don't require every senator to be in on it. Most of these senators, a lot of them are starting to turn around and say, wow, this is bad. We need to not do this. For one reason or another. Most of them are coming around because they're starting to realize that it's just going to kill the internet and commerce and everything as we know it. Many of them didn't realize how broad this could be and how broad of an effect it would have on the internet. That's the reality of this. That's the reality of the situation. Your lawmakers don't even have an idea about how the laws that they pass could affect and damage things half the time. That's scary. Think about that. You know how easy it is to bring in a police state? People are like, well, all of Congress would have to be in on it. No, they're morons. Half the time they're only concerned about themselves, or they believe what they're fed. And the other half of the time, they're evil. They're part of the problem. That does happen too. But these legislators are they're so out of touch. And like the video I played earlier said, all you got to do is have a judge who, thinks that, some sharing website, which is a boon to people that make movies and stuff, independent films. And what happens when this guy says, oh, these are pirates, we have to take them out? And why? Why? To protect the movie industry? So they can make a little bit of more money? Because millions of dollars off your crappy movies aren't enough? Ridiculous, people. Ridiculous. This is how bizarro world we've gotten. It has gotten to the point where everything is just the opposite. It's up is down, down is up, right is left, left is right, black is white, right is wrong. Slavery is freedom. Makes no sense. And we need to reverse course and open our eyes as to what's going on. Otherwise, we're going to be in real trouble, ladies and gentlemen. That's why Bob and I called CNN. That's why I wouldn't let that lady blow me off. Tried to be personal for her. I urged her to look into it. It's important that everybody find out what's going on. We need to wake up the brain dead. You want to wake them up, you want something to help wake them up, explain to them that them sharing one of their favorite music videos on YouTube or some other sharing video website will be a felony. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break. Welcome back. It is the final segment of the Sunday edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. Time flies by, ladies and gentlemen. My show seems to go by very fast. I blink my eyes and it's done. Don't worry, I'll be on WTF tomorrow night. There will probably be some humor and jocularity, but who knows, it might be serious. Last week it was kind of serious, so every week it's different. Remember, it's a different format. It's just, the hosts getting together to talk about whatever's on their minds, sometimes blow off steam, sometimes talk about things that have pissed them off that they saw in the media. And just remember, the radio here doesn't end after I'm off. Go check out Joe Joseph's show, Freedom Link Radio. Joe's a good guy. He's pretty smart. I like his perspective on things. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do make a good team. Who knows, maybe in the future, it'd be like Down the Rabbit Hole with Popeye and Joe Joseph. Who knows? I don't know. You could cross the two names over, but it would make some really, disgusting sounding names. Joe and I were doing it all there one night, joking around, so. But in all seriousness, you never know. Who knows what the future holds, ladies and gentlemen? Who knows? But go check out Joe's show. He's a good friend of mine. Anyway, back to the issue at hand. The internet. What do we do? Well, first we wake again, you can't wake everybody up, but you try to wake up as many people as you can. And somebody asked me in the chat, I noticed during the break, they said, I didn't want the lady to blow me off, ? Well, I forget whoever it was, I apologize. I'm not being a jerk. Too many things, I forget who it was, and I'm not looking at the chat right now, but I'll answer your question. I didn't want her to blow me off that fast because I realized in her mind she didn't think it was important. And I know, Popeye, who is she? Well, she is a human being. And how do I know that I might not wake her up, and in turn she could wake up the person that'll stop all of this? I don't. So I just do what I have to do. And I didn't want her to blow me off that fast because I realized in her eyes that the death of the internet, I guess, wasn't that important. She didn't get it. If you go back and when you listen to the archive, when I throw it up on YouTube, or you go back and listen to the archive on Orion, listen to what she says. And I'll cut it out and make it just a video of that so people can just listen to that section of audio without, combing through the first hour for it. But listen to what she said. She totally didn't understand what I was talking about. Now, I was very clear and concise, as was Bob, explaining twice what it was, and she totally looked at it like it was a complete different scenario. Didn't understand it. She thought I meant hackers were going to hack it. And I was trying to tell, and I told her that it was the legislators, it was Congress. You see how people perceive things? Okay? And I didn't want to let it go. So, I didn't want her to just be able to blow me off that fast. Now, who knows? She'll probably still be brain dead, but at least I made the attempt to show her. And that's why I tried to make it personal. And that is the avenue you should try to take with people when you wake them up. Try to bring it to a level to them that they can understand. You know, you can run up to somebody and go, oh my God, 9/11 was an inside job. They're trying to create a police state. Look, they want to shut the internet down. But they'll look at you and be like, what? You just said like 18 things to them. And, you know, to them, you were... That's what they heard. Slow, decisive, relaxed conversation. One topic. Try to find something that they can relate to. There's one aspect of this that affects everybody. I mean, it affects all of us, but there's one aspect that they can relate to, I should say, if they're still asleep or out of touch. There's always one aspect that they can relate to, ladies and gentlemen. So try that door. Economic, political, 9/11, you know. Maybe it's something with the collapses of the buildings that you can get them to wake up. You know, Building 7 woke a lot of people up. Maybe it's the banks. You know? Obama's doing a hell of a job waking people up, actually, because I know a lot of people, yes, I know a lot of people are still, I love Obama, but I know a lot of people that have said to me, you know, this guy's a scumbag. He's totally 180 from what he said he was going to do. And I say, well, we told you so. Now they get it. Now they understand. They look at it and they say, oh, we were duped. So, yeah, that's waking people up. You have to gauge somebody in conversation. I can make friends with a rock. My mother used to tell me that when I was a kid. She used to tell me I could make friends with a rock. That's what you need to be. You need to be able to make friends with a rock, ladies and gentlemen. You need to be that way. You need to be willing to talk to people no matter what they look like, who they are. Don't be afraid of people. We're all humans. We all bleed the same way. We all work the same way. We might look and smell a little different on the outside, but we all look the same way. We all operate the same way on the inside. Just like a car, like a vehicle. So don't be afraid to go intermingle with other humans and talk to them. And in general conversation, you be that way. Be the social butterfly if you have to. You don't have to do it every day, but pick your places to do it. If you're in the line at the grocery store, you see a headline on one of those raggy papers, you know, make a comment, bring that up, and just say, oh, what crap. And if people are waiting, I'm sure they'll be like, yeah, you know, because it's a way for them to alleviate their stress, and then you throw in something else. You know, that's just, you know, I believe that as much as I believe the government trying to take over the internet is for our own good, you know, ha, ha, ha. That's how you do it. You make random conversation. Then you lead into things. Just my perspective on things, ladies and gentlemen. That's how I do it. I find that it works. So if I find something that works, I try to share it with everybody. And of course, you're going to have people that are going to tell you you're crazy and everything. And you just tell them, look, man, I understand. I used to be in the same position. I just urge you to check it out. If afterwards you still think I'm nuts, that's cool. But at least, you know, just check it out, please. You know, I mean, people have had that come at me like that later on. They come up and they're like, dude, I apologize for reacting the way I did. I was ignorant. When I go to the VA hospital, I have guys all the time asking me for DVDs now. They know me as the DVD guy because I'm constantly giving them out. And I don't have to draw attention to myself that would, you know, maybe make the VA police come over and say, hey, you can't do that here. I'm smart. I just put them in sleeves. I write free movie on it. And then when I'm, you know, while I'm in certain waiting areas, I'll throw it out while I'm hanging around. And when I put them out, people always say, because I do it right in front of people, they say, what's that? And I go, oh, it's a free movie. My friends and I are filmmakers. We try to get them out to people. Check it out. It's it's about what goes on behind the scenes with politics and stuff. Really cool here. Or it's about economics. It's about what they really do with our tax dollars. Really here. Or veteran stuff. They eat it right up. And then I'll sit and watch, and while I'm waiting, and I'll be doing something, remotely working on Federal Jack or something, and I'll watch them. And doctors, nurses, VA employees, even VA police have picked them up and checked them out and walked away. I've had everybody come up to me. You got any more of the movies if they see me put them out? And never once have I had anybody come up to me and tell me they thought I was full of it because of the movies. It's because they're Vietnam vets. I had a World War II veteran come up to me and thank me. Do you know how that affected me? This guy was actually part of the greatest generation. That quote-unquote, those people that actually, they volunteered to go fight because they actually were fighting a form of tyranny. And I'm not saying war was good, but at least that was more... there was at least a little more honor in it. And this old man came up and thanked me and shook my hand for passing out DVDs. That was an honor in my eyes. And I got to tell you, that pushes me to do it more because it means I'm being effective. So figure out how to do it in your own area, ladies and gentlemen. Go out and check out your area and look around and figure out how you can incorporate giving out maybe a couple DVDs once in a while or some flyers. Give out federaljack.com flyers. Print something up. It's not expensive. Pass out shows for Orion. Or pass out shows, listen to me. Pass out flyers for the Orion Talk Radio shows. Or for Orion itself. Make a big one and put the Intel Hub, NVIC, which is the Vaccine Truth website, Federal Jack, Bob Tuskin, Intel Hub, Orion, Oracle, whatever. Share the knowledge. That's the wealth that should be shared and spread around, is the knowledge. Not some fake fiat currency. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time as always. Thank you for listening. Love you all. I'll see you again on my show on Wednesday at 10 p.m., and I'll see you tomorrow night on WTF. I'm out.
Is this Internet 2? Not quite. But are we getting closer? Yes. Time to figure out Plan B, Popeye. The kill switch is in place, and are you and your family in place, prepared, ready for all of these sorts of crackdowns on our freedom? That's the question that I asked the listeners. What are you going to do when the grid goes down? Do you have your Plan B? They clearly are implementing their gradual, incremental step to total freedom abolishment. What are you doing to go the other way and continue to gain your freedom? Are you free? Do you really have, sovereignty from this bureaucratic, never-ending police state? And that's what I think we need to come away from this. And, of course, we need to fight like hell while we still have the Internet, because it is such a valuable tool. There's no doubt about it. It has helped awareness grow exponentially, but it also has created enough fluff to dilute that awakening process. And the powers that shouldn't be know this, and they want to keep you distracted with all the fluff. That's why they've allowed it to continue and not have not actually gone all the way with their Internet 2 plans and so on. So, it's fascinating, Popeye. Long story short, it's sick. And what's sick about this is just, like I said, how arbitrary the reasoning behind why they want to go after certain sites or what they can censor and what they can go after. Yes, they might claim that it has to do with streaming and blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, there's no due process. It's almost like a pseudo-kangaroo court with absolutely no oversight. Scary world, Popeye.
I agree. No judge, no jury, no due process. Just, you are the weakest link, goodbye. That's exactly how they handle it.
That's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You gotta look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're gonna see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're gonna see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're gonna do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, November 20th, 2011. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. Today I'm going to be discussing the Stop IP Act, or excuse me, the Protect IP Act, and the Stop Online Piracy Act, otherwise known as SOPA. The reason I'm discussing this is because there's not a lot of attention being drawn to it right now. Obviously, the mainstream media is pretty much ignoring it, as they're told to. And not many in the mainstream media are covering it. It is being covered, but not enough, and it needs to get more attention. So I'm going to try to help shed some light on it. These two acts will destroy the internet as we know it, ladies and gentlemen. Literally. It will destroy the internet. And you'll understand what I mean by that in a few minutes. I'm going to be joined today by my good friend, a fellow radio show host, researcher, activist, and he's now starting to learn how to do film editing and stuff, so one day we'll be able to call him a filmmaker, Mr. Bob Tuscan. Bob,
You already called me a troublemaker.
Yeah, you're on a few lists.
Either we heal as a team, or we're gonna crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw out fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that.
Through the internet. Commerce is done through the internet like crazy. It would literally destroy the net as we know it.
How fitting.
Right?
They want to take down my connection randomly. And as you know, Popeye, I do a show Monday through Friday with very little of interruptions. So, geez.
Yeah, for the listeners that don't know, Bob keeps getting knocked off. Well, actually, it's not just you. It's like all day Skype has been really malfunctioning bad all day long for everybody that's been using it. So it kind of makes you wonder if they're doing something at the... Obviously, maybe it's a Skype-wide problem. What are they doing? You know? And I'm so tired of hearing people say, well, the date for the contract hasn't even, passed yet. So technically, they haven't taken over. Right, technically. Right. And the government also does things before things are legal and then seeks the permission to make it legal. Doesn't mean that they don't do it beforehand. You know what I mean?
It's that old thing, do now and apologize later.
Exactly. And they will do now and then not even apologize later.
Nah.
Bob, from your viewpoint, you're an activist. Not even from the viewpoint of a radio show host, but as an activist, how chilling is this to you for your free speech to be able to get it out there?
The fact that the draconian crackdown on internet freedom is based on such arbitrary terms is quite troubling, Popeye. Information should be open source in a perfect world. Yet we now live in a police state of corporate fascism. We had the CEO of Google say that, SOPA was draconian. But I doubt he really will be the one to suffer the consequences. This will simply make it easier for them to censor and withhold funds, as they already do.
Aren't you? More than a few. You're probably on about 10 or 15. And also joining us at some point this afternoon is going to be Alex Thomas from the Intel Hub. And he's going to talk a little bit about SOPA and the Protect IP Act. Now, some of us have been talking about this and writing about it for months. I know Brian Hill over at USWGO, he writes for me over at Federal Jack, and he's written a couple articles about this and trying to draw attention to it because it's scary what they want to do. I mean, they literally want to make, sharing a clip from just to show you how draconian it would be. If I say Bob and I were sports fans, we weren't, awake, we weren't researchers, just two idiots, right? We like sports. And I go, Bob, you got to see this clip. And I send it to him on his Facebook page. And it's like a 15-second clip from a football game the night before where some guy, gets taken out at the knees. And he falls down, lands on his face. And the other player, drops a knee into his face. And you see the guy's foot, head and face get mashed into the ground. And it's going viral, right? Everybody that shares that video, including me sending it to Bob, has now committed a felony. Do you see how insane that is? Do you understand the level that will destroy the internet and society? For people that aren't aware, okay, for some of the older folk that say, well, Popeye, we dealt without the internet before. Not anymore. All commerce is done through the internet. It's like only 3% of our currency is cash. Everything else is digital. How do you think that digital information, which translates into currency once it gets to the bank or whatever, how do you think that gets from one spot to another?